Hello again. Thank you so much for joining our daily encouragement channel. Happy Tuesday if I'm doing this right and I've set this up correctly. It should be Tuesday, uh, our second day at camp. If you're seeing and wondering why I've just been lazy and wearing the same t-shirt every day, it's because I pre-recorded these just trying to prepare for the trip. Uh, Take the time if you're enjoying the series or enjoying what we're doing. Please like, share, subscribe, um, whatever you need to do so that you get notified. I guess on YouTube, ring the bell, so to speak, whatever it is. Um, but definitely it'll help to know that at least there's somebody watching. I mean, other than the analytics, but I appreciate you taking the time to watch. We're going to get right into it because we got a couple big important passages coming up and I want to give as much time as possible. We have been going through the end of the earthly ministry of Christ as he's facing the crucifixion. Last video, we talked about him standing before Pilate and being accused and him controlling his mouth, and challenged everyone to control, watch what you say and how you say it and things like that. Now, we did read verses 15 through 23, but we're going to read it again. It says, Now at that feast the governor was wont to release unto the people a prisoner whom they would, and they had then a notable prisoner called Barabbas. Therefore, when they were gathered together, Pilate said unto them, Whom will ye that I release unto you, Barabbas, or Jesus, which is called Christ? For he knew that for envy they had delivered him. When he was set down on the judgment seat, his wife sent unto him, saying, Have thou nothing to do with that just man? For I have suffered many things this day in a dream because of him. But the chief priests and elders persuaded the multitude that they should ask Barabbas and destroy Jesus. The governor answered and said unto them, Whether of the twain will ye that I release unto you? They said, Barabbas. Pilate saith unto them, What shall I do then with Jesus, which is called Christ? They all say unto him, Let him be crucified. And the governor said, Why? What evil hath he done? But they cried out the more, saying, Let him be crucified. Now, what I want you to envision as we look at this is that Jesus is now facing the judgment. Your judgment. My judgment. Now you might say, wait a minute, we weren't standing before. Yeah, but we were. When you think about what Jesus did, he did this for you. He did this for me. What he's facing, what he's dealing with is because of you and because of me. So what did it say? It said the governor was trying to release a prisoner to him. And if you read it, it says, and they had a notable prisoner called Barabbas. Now, my belief, based on reading the rest of the passage, was Pilate said, you know what? Jesus is innocent. He hasn't really done anything. If we sit there and we say, let's give him this really bad person or Jesus, this innocent person, they must be willing to make the choice to take Barabbas. Of course, he's a horrible criminal. The passage here doesn't tell us what it is he done. Wow, that's bad English. What it was, the thing that caused him to be in prison. We just know he was a notable prisoner. And it said, Whom will I release unto you, Barabbas or Jesus, which is called Christ? For he knew that for envy they delivered him. He knew that it was It was a silly reason that these people had brought Jesus before him. He couldn't just let him go. So he said, let me make it so the people realize just how poor of a choice they're making. And it even says that his wife said, have nothing to do with that just man. For I've suffered many things this day in a dream because of him. How I look at that. She went to sleep. You ever go to sleep and you just feel so guilty and convicted in your heart and in your mind, and you're just like, Lord, I got to get this resolved. I got to get this fixed. Your heart just almost hurts because of something. Maybe you have a friend that you've offended and you went to bed and you're like, oh, I've got to restore it. I've got to fix this. And you just woke up and you called them or you texted them, or maybe you went over to their house. If it was your spouse, you rolled over, honey, we need to talk. Or if you were out on the couch, you went into the room and said, honey, we can't do this. This is not the right way. This is not how we should be dealing with our relationship. I should be saying, honey, I'm sorry. Even if, and I'm not saying you should make up a blame, but you know what? You're part of it too. She sat there and said, don't have anything to do with him because things in the dream, I suffered. I had this vivid dream. So it says, but the chief priest, and that key word is the word but. They persuaded the multitude that they should ask Barabbas and destroy Jesus. So here's the governor, Pilate. Whether of the twain shall I release unto you? Who should I let free? Set Barabbas free. Well, what will I do with Jesus, which is called Christ? And they said, let him be crucified. And then Pilate's like, why? What did he do? And they still said, let him be crucified. Now, I mentioned at the end of the video last time that this is reminding me of some of the struggles and difficulties that exist out in the world today when we read about cities being overrun by groups, whether it's gangs, whether it's protesters, and in some instances, some of these beliefs they don't make sense to us because as a Christian, such senseless violence, it just doesn't make sense. Why are these people so cruel, so mean, so angry with each other, especially when there are situations that don't call for it? It doesn't matter. They are angry, they are mad, and they're having these, whether it's a riot, whether it's a protest, and it goes crazy. Pilate realized Jesus was just and innocent. They still said, let him be crucified. Now you say, how is that encouraging? Well, one, as I've been saying multiple times in these videos, Jesus knew this was going to happen, and he still went. He still died. And by the way, he died for the people that were saying, crucify him. Think about the relationships that you're struggling with today. If that person that you're struggling with right now, if they were to call you up and say they were stuck on the side of the road, run out of gas, right now, today, how do you feel towards them? And would that make you think, do I really want to go help them? If so, that's not a Christ-like attitude. Just saying. Lewis, you don't know what they did to me. You're right, I don't. God knows. And he still wrote this in his word. He knew what these people were going to do, and he still went and died for their sins. The least you can do is go help. Just telling you what it says. These people still said, let him be crucified. So, verse 24, when Pilate saw that he could prevail nothing, but that rather a tumult was made, he took water and washed his hands before the multitude, saying, I am innocent of the blood of this just person. See ye to it. Then answered all the people and said, his blood be on us and our children. Then he released Barabbas unto them. And when he had scourged Jesus, he delivered him to be crucified. The idea to scourge, in case you're wondering. It's literally to scourge, to beat, but it's not just a regular beating. Think of a flogging. I pause because I really want you to understand that he knew this was going to happen, and he still came. I don't know what your difficulty is today. I don't know what your struggle is today. But remember, the God of this universe became a man and faced this for you and for me. Remember earlier, the passage said he was being accused and he said not a word. He said when they came to arrest him, when Peter took his sword out and chopped off the priest's servant, when he chopped off his ear, what did Jesus say? Don't you know I could call a legion of angels, or 12 legions of angels? I got this. He still went forward and did what he had to do. Because I don't want this to roll, this next part, it's going to be so short, I want to cover this. Verse 27, Then the soldiers of the governor took Jesus into the common hall and gathered unto him the whole band of soldiers, and they stripped him and put on him a scarlet robe. And when they had platted a crown of thorns, they put it upon his head, and a reed in his right hand. And they bowed the knee before him and mocked him, saying, Hail, King of the Jews! And they spit upon him and took the reed and smote him on the head. And after that they had mocked him, they took the robe off from him and put his own raiment on him and led him away to crucify him. For the sake of time and for the sake of keeping true to the passage, I don't want to spend a bunch of time because I don't want, again, this is supposed to be a surface look at what's being said. Again, remember, we're trying to encourage you today and reminding you of what Jesus went through for you and for me. And what does it say? Soldiers took him. They stripped him of his clothes. They put on a scarlet robe. It's pure mockery that they're doing this. And they put together a crown of thorns and placed it on his head. Put a reed in his right hand. And then they bowed the knee before him. They mocked him. The creator of the universe was mocked. They said, Hail, King of the Jews! And they spit upon him. And they took the reed and smote him on the head. He was wearing the crown of thorns. They hit him on the head. And after they had mocked him, they took the robe off of him, put his own raiment back on, and led him away to crucify him. Remember today, Jesus did that for you and for me. Put whatever you're dealing with today in light of that. You don't have to hear me tell you this, but look at the passage if you have to, and really consider what he did for you. So when he tells you, he made sure that you can get through whatever you're dealing with. You can get through whatever you're dealing with. I can get through whatever I'm dealing with. That should be the greatest encouragement of all. But there's still more to come. I mean, we're about to hit what's the saddest part? But what happens when you have the sadness? There's joy that comes. So, thank you so much for taking the time to watch. Sorry I went a little bit long again, but I appreciate you sticking along with me. I've mentioned it before, like, share, subscribe. Continue to pray for us as we're gone. Like I said, it should be Tuesday, so we're almost halfway through the week already. So the next video you watch, we will be halfway through the week. So until the next time, please do your best. Be encouraged. Thank you for taking the time. God bless.